Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. In this one, I'm going to be helping one of my students whose horse has kind of gotten in the pattern of bolting and kind of does a spook and duck move that I think is fairly common with eventing horses. So we're going to see if we can give her some strategies to address that proactively and not just react after it happens. Let's get into the video. All right, so I'm here with Aaron, and we had a situation at a clinic where I'll tell my side of the story and then you can tell your side of the story. And so you and your horse came around, I was coaching somebody else, I was sitting on a mounting block, and I felt like the horse hooked onto me thinking jump, and you didn't give him a strong enough cue to say we're not jumping that, and so he was like, ba-dum, 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 you jump? And he put the brakes on and whirled around, then he came off. And so now we're kind of addressing that. But you've had some other issues with him in addition to that situation. So yeah, can you tell us a little bit about what's been going on?
Sure. So we've got that one on video, so you'll get to see that one. But generally speaking, wherever I've taken this horse, he's always tend to find something to be really worried about. It might be a certain area of the arena, perhaps a flag that was being worked somewhere else. He just, he's definitely been referred to as a bit of a scaredy cat. And so really trying to find strategies that are not only going to help keep me like safe and effective and sort of unwork some of these patterns, but give him just a little bit more confidence in my leadership, I think would be the best way to sum it up.
Yeah, well, very well said. And so I have a few ideas. So one thing I want to address is that even though you're not jumping him under saddle, he previously was an eventing horse, and he kind of learned to kind of run off some of the jumps, things like that. And so that's a bit of a thing. So even though we're not jumping him, I think we need to address that on the ground just so that you're not riding by an obstacle like what happened that day where he spooks at it. So we're going to play a little game called Hunt the Jump. So we're going to teach you that in him today. And then I want to address proactively being able to bend the horse down. And this is something I've coached you on at the clinic and that sort of thing. But the truth is, the question is, how many times do you need to practice this? And I saw somebody else give a good answer to this. I think it was Buck Brannaman, and he had a line that said, you should practice it enough until you would bet your life on it. And that's a really great way to say it, because it's like, you know, obviously it could be dangerous if he spooks and you come off of him. But we want to get ahead of that and practice that proactively as much as possible. So that's one of the things I want to see you add into your rides more frequently. I've seen you do it when you needed to, but I want to see you do it really proactively and really get 100% out of each of those yields. So we're going to look at that. And then the other thing is, I remember a situation down in Florida where he was spooking on a fence line, and then we noticed that at the clinic he's kind of shy of that tree line in my arena. So it kind of doesn't matter, but a particular arena, he'll decide there's a scary spot of the arena that he doesn't want to go by. And I'm going to get into addressing some of the points about that here in a minute. But let's start off with doing some groundwork and we'll go from there. I want to thank the sponsor of today's video, ABI Attachments. More about that in a minute. Now, I know this horse has had a lot of groundwork, and so we've tested him out on a lot of things that you guys have seen in my previous videos, and he responds quite well to those. So it's a little less about groundwork and a little more about riding through it, but I do feel like we need to address the jumping situation. So even though Aaron's not jumping him under saddle currently, I feel like we need to look at this, because if his first thought was to balk and spook and avoid something, the opposite of that would be hunting it. So this is going to be less about, maybe, we'll see if he's confident or not. I expect he's going to be pretty confident. I know she's done a lot of groundwork with him. So I'm expecting him to be pretty confident with it, but that's not really what I'm after here. I'm after connection to it, where he kind of goes out of his way to hunt the jump and go to it there, which would be the opposite. So today we're going to do with barrels. Then her homework is going to be to do this with lots of other obstacles that she can find and put that into her warm-up routine before she rides him. So we're going to go from there. So I got a couple barrels set up here, and I got a gap in between them. And what I'm going to do is move him around over there. And this is the sweet spot right here. So basically from the barrels to my left shoulder and off my right shoulder over here, this little quadrant here, if you will, is the relief. So I'm not going to add any pressure over here. This quadrant on this side of the barrels, if he should choose to avoid them or not go over them, is the spank zone. Okay, so this is where we're going to add pressure. Sometimes I refer to it as hot lava. We're going to make this a little uncomfortable so that he finds relief going to there. And then if he jumps them or lines up to go through them, that's where the relief is. So he's in the spank zone right now, so we're going to put a little pressure on him over here. He's a pretty sensitive horse, so I don't need to add a lot to it. and we'll just see what he thinks about it. Good, and he found the hole, so very good. Now I'm gonna add a little spank on that side of it here. He's got his feet a little bit disunited. Good. So he found the hole, and then he chose to jump there. So now what I'm gonna do is close it off. And even by me directing my attention now to the barrel, he stopped and got relief. One of the things I'll coach people on at clinics is to run and sit on the barrel. And it's kind of a handy chair, but more importantly than that, it gets the human to completely let down and take all the pressure off and not just sit there staring at him or continue running around. And it's a great skill to have where horses can learn to jump something where they have to get bigger and more powerful and then immediately shut everything down and come back and get relaxed. Okay, so I made that hole just a little bit more narrow. I think I'm also gonna add an added challenge of making it feel a little bit squeezier by just putting this barrel upright. So just based on how easy that was when we first started. I'm just gonna do this with one direction with him today, and then we'll have Aaron give it a try. Effortlessly. So now I'm gonna make it a little more challenging. Put this barrel on this opposite side here. And we're gonna close it. So we're gonna give him plenty of room to not go over the barrel. And then what we're eventually gonna do is make the target smaller and smaller. So obviously there's not really any confidence issues here with this. He's lining up to it pretty well. But it's less about that and more about teaching him to hunt it and get sweet on it. And you can see, even just thinking about jumping here has kind of brought his life up. Very good. Nailed it again. So we're gonna keep progressing here with it. So now we got one barrel. So now he's gonna sign him up a little bit more to really hunting it. And then eventually we could actually stand these barrels up vertically and make it even harder in that way. But I haven't really got to show the game because he's kind of got sweet on it right away. So right off the bat, we kind of know it's not about jumping. It's more about the presentation of it to him. Okay, so now there he's gonna run into a little hot lava. Again, a little bit of hot lava. I need to adjust my barrel here in a second. Gonna reset him here. A little bit of hot lava, and I'm gonna fix my barrel. There we go. Nailed it. Very cool. So he had to work at that a little bit for that particular one. And we'll set it up again, make it a little easier. But I was pretty confident it wasn't going to be about his confidence jumping it. It's more, I think he feels pressure when the rider is riding him with contact and anticipating being made to go to something. So when I'm doing it on the ground here, I think he feels less pressure from that. But still, it's going to move the needle in the saddle and just help him get that much more confident and relaxed jumping. So we're going to have Aaron come in here now, and we're going to set up two barrels again. Hey, if you guys are enjoying this video, I think you're going to love my Patreon page. I have my full program on there. We have a fundamental series that is really valuable for people getting started with horses. Take them through, see where your horse is at, making sure they're understanding all the essential things that every horse and rider should be able to do. We post a new video every Wednesday. We do monthly challenges that are participation. Anybody can play along with it as long as you're a Patreon member. So I'll leave a link up here in the video as well as in the description below. Look forward to seeing you on there. Go ahead and send him the other way. You can go the other direction, so change directions. Yeah. You're not nervous, are you? A lot of rope, don't get too close to it. Just perfect. Go to the barrel. Very good. What I really liked about that one is he was the most relaxed, and he came to a full halt and then got powerful to jump it. And so that one to me had the most confidence and relaxation into it. That was really good, so we'll take that for sure. Now we're gonna make it a little harder. But again, as I said earlier, this horse is pretty good with groundwork. And so, like, really good with groundwork. She does some nice liberty with him and things like that. And so I don't think there's a ton for us to gain there. It's going to be a little more about riding, but I do think this will help. And so I do want, instead of avoiding jumping altogether, I want to just pepper it in some way like this. Very good. Want to stop? Now there, that was, so he jumped it really well, but he got pretty strong on the other side of that jump. So that's going to be unacceptable. We're going to do that again until he can just stay there. Just let him fully decompress so he can sit on the barrel. So that's part of the idea. As you can see, once a person starts jumping something, they can get excited too and want to like put a little too much energy on. But by sitting, you have to like fully kind of let down, like, okay, we're just totally camping out here. So again, the only thing I didn't like about that one was he got stronger on the other side. And so that's can be part of the fear that if they get stronger on the other side, they're anticipating pressure over here. And so we don't want that. That's why we're going to do a hindquarter yield, sit on the barrel, and let him decompress afterwards. It's about showing him the relief is in the approach. So if he were to totally just go up to it and stop, that would be totally fine, totally acceptable. It's when he avoids it or when he gets strong on the other side that we're going to let it be hot lava over there, either in the hindquarter yield or in letting him run into the spank zone if he goes too fast. Let's go ahead and do it again. So see if you can just talk him into a trot here for the second time. Is this all making sense to you, Aaron? Let him sit. Love that. Absolutely love that. So he didn't jump it, but like I said, this is not about jumping it. This is about his confidence. Even getting him to stop over it like that and side pass off, you can get super creative with jumps and different things. Obviously here at my place, we have some platforms they can jump off of or jump onto. We have some logs out there, fairly easy stuff, but you can get creative with it being harder. But just how confident and left-brained he stayed with that particular one, that was the winning shot. So what we're gonna do next, I'll have you go ahead and put a bridle on him and mount up, and we'll go from there. All right, so we got Aaron mounted up here, and the first thing we're gonna work on is relax rein. And I know you've already been doing this with him, but there's a few things that we're gonna go through that, to be honest, I think are fairly classic. Like English riders could add these in more, you know. Not trying to stereotype too much here, but English people from my experience, tend to love to ride their horses with contact, like straight out of the gate or straight after the mounting block, get on, pick them up with the reins and start riding with contact. And so, and then they tend to not emphasize stopping as much as I would like to. You know, for Western riders, typically stopping is like one of the most important things we're ever going to teach our horses. So I want to address that as well. But a lot of times English riders don't use one rein at a time. And so the first couple things I'm going to do with you is going to be based on one rein at a time. So the relaxed rein exercise, what we're going for is teaching a recovery strategy. Then, because we know that he does spook or does tend to run off sometimes, we're going to be ready to bend him. But it's about it becoming muscle memory for you, to where it's your first instinct to go to rather than pick him up and pull on him. Because he's going to go for quite a while before he finally gets shut down, and we've talked about that kind of happening. And so by bending him, you're going to be able to recover quicker and then be ready to go back to what you're doing. But the whole point is to practice this proactively. So when things are going well, we're going to work on this, okay? So the idea behind relaxed rein is you're going to you go from a trot or a canter, you're going to sit, and you're going to lift with one hand on the reins, slide the other hand down, and bend him. But the idea of sitting first, it gets the horse to basically almost come to a halt or a walk so that they're not too off balance when you go to bend them. And then they can kind of have time to prepare for that. And then you're going to try to walk a circle, and I want his ribs really bent. I want slack in the rein, so his head bent on the circle with slack in the rein. Ribs are bent, and he's taking a partial disengagement with his hind feet. So the inside hind is stepping in front of and across the outside hind. So let's just go ahead and try that a couple times here from a standstill. So just bend him, reach down with that inside rein, and you're going to pull it to your pocket and then lower your hand down to your knee. Get a little more forward there. I like that she's got slack in her outside rein, so we want to keep the forward as we're doing this. And one of the things that we try to look for here is that the horses bring in their head vertically around, not tipping their head sideways as they do it. Because a lot of horses can kind of pretend like they're in this position, but not really turning loose. He's looking really good there. Again, I want to see that rein either pick it up and bring his head around a little more. Let's show this at a standstill real quick. So what it would be is you're picking up a feel here and you're asking him to bend, and then you drop your hand down. See how he took it away right away? I want to have a little bit more of that much slack in the rein. And watch the game here, right? Almost. There, he kind of left it. And I'm not looking to drill for oil on this and do it 100 million times. I'm looking for a half to a full, really high quality circle. Okay, let's go ahead and do it again. So a little more inside leg, keep the forward. Yep. So we're not looking for him to pivot and disengage all the way. A little more bend in the head and neck. So again, with this particular horse, we got to be very particular because he's pretty well trained, and it's these little things that if we can get him to turn loose and go from an 8 to a 9 out of 10 with it is going to move the needle and get him to be even safer to ride.
Like when he feels like when he starts to finally come around.
That's better right there, but I still want to see more slack in the rein. Okay. And then what were you going to say?
I was just gonna say, it's like I get sort of part of his body and then he stops moving his feet. It's
yeah. Yep, and that's why it's all those pieces have to come together for it to be a 9 out of 10. We don't always ever get to a fully a 10 or maybe one time in that ride, but then tomorrow you start back off at an 8. Like horses get feral when they have time off, even if it's, you know, from ride to ride. And so this is something that you could just kind of check in with. He could go a little bit bigger circle, a little more forward there. He's a pretty big horse. And they'll have you come off the rail here a little more. And so that is one thing that can happen is was talking her into drifting towards the rail, but she's got to be really particular and map out that circle. And so if you're doing this at home, if it's easier to put a cone down or something as a marker, if I'm not there yelling at you, how are you doing it wrong? Just keep that in mind. He needs to be going where she's intending for him to go. And that's part of it. It's like, otherwise there's like little resistance, little evasions. And what we're trying to do is chip away at those things and have less and less of the really big moves of where things really go wrong. That's really good right there. Go ahead and turn them loose and go straight. And now what I want you to do is trot them off somewhere and then just trot 10 or 15 steps. Then I want you to breathe out, sit back, and reach down and bend him down from a trot. Loose rein here while we're doing this if you can. Because your background is what, Aaron?
Hunter jumper.
Hunter jumper. Okay, so go ahead and that's already way past 15 steps. So ABI Attachments hooked me up with the TR3 E-Series Arena Drag. And this thing is incredible. I mean, it is like having a personal assistant for your arena because it does everything. It's got a scraping blade here that kind of aerates the soil and can cut out grass if you got some grass growing in. It's got a floating leveling blade that is incredible for keeping consistency throughout the whole arena. And then all the different settings of the drags that breaks up and loosens the material. And then of course their patented comb that they have here at the back just lays a really nice finishing layer down at the end. This drag is blowing me away with how easy it is to pull. It's super easy to use because you can just drop it all the way down and it rests, the frame of it rests on these wheels. And so it takes out a lot of the operator error that can happen with making some whoop-de-doos in the arena as you go. So if you guys are in the market for an arena drag, you are definitely going to want to check out the ABI Attachments. They have applications for everybody's different uses, and make sure you check them out. I'll leave a link in the description below. Let's get back to the video. And so I want to see him on a loose rein for that trot. It can be a short rein, but there has to just be that 1 inch of slack. Let me show you something here real quick. One of the things we want to really avoid doing is teaching a horse to wear the pressure as we're going around. We call that a BS rein, where you just have a little bit of contact, you're not really giving. But for every step a horse takes forward with that little bit of feel, they're learning to wear it and kind of push through it. And so we want to avoid doing that. That's why I want you on a loose rein. But this is like on the buckle, where you're fully committed to a loose rein. Your reins have a little marker there in the middle. But that's too loose because you'd have to be way up here in order to regain control if things got going too fast. So what you can do is you can put a little roll in the reins here like this. And see right here, if your hand is down, they're short, but as soon as you pick your hand up, then you have contact, okay? And that's the idea, that's the difference. And if you can, I wanna show you something here. Go ahead and hold the reins like you're his mouth. And so right here, do you feel anything from my hand? I can move my hand and you don't feel anything, right? Yeah. But as soon as I close my fingers, I have contact. Mm-hmm. So to me, that's kind of the difference. Okay. That's very short rein, but it's still loose. Mm-hmm. We're not pulling on it. Versus if I'm here, there's just that little bit of feel on there. And that's where you'll see horses start flipping their noses and doing that. And I know none of you guys at home, your horses do that, but maybe you know somebody. But this is a really common thing that people just, we feel more comfortable with control by having more contact, but we can make the horse feel more bottled up. And that's gonna come up here in a minute when we start working on getting him to be willing to go to that tree line. And so we're gonna talk about that more in a minute, but let's go ahead and just trot 10 or 15 steps, so not about half the distance of what you were going. Just breathe out and just bend him down. Loose rein. Yep. And if he's taken over, you can turn him the opposite way. But you got to give him a little bit stronger inputs there because you're kind of a little bit letting him go where he wants to go. Loose rein all the way. Now sit, bend him down. You feel how that was a little commotion-y, a little herky-jerky? Mm-hmm. And granted, I think you might be just a hair nervous from being filmed. Maybe.
Maybe.
Maybe not.
Well, I also, I know you can't hear me, but I feel like too, he's like, again, kind of like that same day.
Yeah.
Pulling towards
but
you a little bit.
There's been a few moments where you could have picked him up and turned the opposite way. And this is part of what we need you to offer him is a little bit stronger leadership. See, like even right there is a good example of right there. You were very specific about where you told him to go. That's what I need you to do more. Right here, turn left because he's leaning to the right. But you gotta mean it a little bit, and it can be a little bit of neck rein and direct rein there. Okay. I'll put your reins loose. Ask him to trot, because you can see he's anticipating being in a frame and being told where to go. Pick him up and turn. Yep, and trot again. So we'll just add in a little bit of riding guide to this. So turn to the right.
Sorry, I want to be where she can actually see me too.
You're good. But you can use this arena, you can use more of the arena. Good. Hands down now. Good. Now sit, breathe out, bend him down. Loose rein all the way. It can be short, so I'm not saying give him a fully long rein. Now sit and bend him down. So when I say loose rein, it's very short rein, but there's no contact there. Yep, forward on your circle, take your time. There's no rush to that position. Take your time. Very good. I would like to see you do this like 50 to 100 times in a ride if you're focusing on it. Because you're gonna have to accumulate upwards of 1,000 of these in order for it to be that more muscle memory instinct for you. Mm-hmm. Okay? So it doesn't just happen overnight. It's a skill that's built in. But it's gonna be good for him for a little while. You could do it too much. If you did this for months on end, but I'm asking you to just get a really strong focus, create a program for like 5 to 10 rides, get really focused on it. Good, so squeeze him, see where he wants to go. Now roll back, roll back, roll back. So I like that Erin is trying to be really polite with him, but you got to give him a little more assertiveness at times. Very good, because she's got to be, if he's trying to leave at a 6 out of 10, you got to be at a 6.5 out of 10 in your pressure. Does that make sense? In order for it to be effective, you have to be just slightly above their level of commitment or intensity. Roll back, yep. There you go. Oh, that was pretty good. Very nice. Squeeze him, roll back. Very good. Just go ahead and pet him there. So that's the closest he's gotten. He changed mind frames. Would you agree? Yeah. He tried a little bit. He didn't go all the way over there, but he switched from like, no, I'm not gonna go over there to, I'll consider it. And he drifted over there a little bit more. So we're gonna call that good for now. Whenever a horse is putting more effort into something for you, you can't go wrong with rewarding them for trying. There's one more thing I wanna work on with you. So come on over here. The next thing we're gonna address is, because he's ran off and pushed through your reins a few times before you were bending him down, I wanna have you work on an exercise called sit, set. And so this is the stage in development of a horse where we say stopping is a got to. Okay, so what we do before this, go ahead and stop here, Erin. What we do before this is we teach a horse to stop off our seat, okay? So we're gonna ride around, we're gonna sit. If they don't stop, we maybe roll back. It's a get to, until they think about stopping when we change our seat. we're going to go to that next stage with him where you're going to have your reins adjusted, where you have a little bit of contact, and you're going to sit. And if he doesn't stop on the line that you asked him to stop on, if he slows down and comes down to a halt, you're going to set your hands, and he's going to run into that pressure because you're going to set your hands on that line. And so if he runs into it, he should end up backing himself off. So the last thing I want you to do is pull on him. I want you to just close your fingers and sit and expect him to stop in that frame. And as he thinks about stopping, he's going to have to make a choice there. Either completely commit to the stop or roll through it. If he rolls through it, he's going to run into your hands there. Okay? So let's say that line is going to be right here, just so the viewers can see what we're talking about. So I'm going to give you a line. This is your line. So I want you to ride up, and one step before this line, you're going to sit. And then on this line, you're going to set your hands. And if he runs into it, he should end up backing up off it. So just go ahead and trot a circle around here. So adjust your reins, shorten your reins up a hair more. Ride past it this time, and just do a circle around me. Yep. So ride, ride, ride. Sit. Okay, so he stopped, but you felt him run into your hands there. You had to hang on. Now turn him loose there and let him sit. So even though he did kind of a bad stop, we're still going to sit here and let him get relief, because we're going to teach him stopping as a sanctuary. That is where he wants to get to. That's what feels really good. Go again. Trot around. Have him framed up. Very nice. So she's got her reins adjusted just right. Ride, ride, ride. Sit. A little bit better. You ran into it a little bit. Maybe it was half as much. Yeah. Turn him loose. Turn him loose. Yep. Very good. He's having a lick and chew there. He's getting relief. That was really good. So I'll quit you there on that note, but those are your 3 things for homework. You got to spend a little more time on a loose rein in your warm-up. You got to work on that relaxed rein and get that evened out where he's going where you want to go on your circle. You have to be particular with that to get him from an 8 out of 10 to a 9 out of 10 is the goal with that. Then the loose rein theme carries over into the tree line of letting him commit, having patience there. You kept a smile on your face, but I just sensed there was getting a little bit of frustration that it wasn't happening quicker. And you gotta check that at the gate, because you gotta work with your horse where they're at. If you push through those thresholds, that's what's gonna lead to some of those more oh no situations with him. So that's gonna be key. You're doing a really good job with him. And then definitely pepper in the sit set throughout your rides. Like it's got to be there. Doing it out of a trot is a great gait to really focus on. A good goal for the relaxed rein would be to start doing it out of a canter and bending him down there. Keep going on jumping obstacles. I don't think we moved the needle a ton there. He was pretty good at it, but I just don't think that can hurt. So it's like, why not just add that into your warm-up? I know he already does a lot of advanced things. So anything you want to share with us from your takeaways from this?
I just think that anytime I feel like we're successful in getting to this horse's mind and really getting his body involved in it, I do feel a change in him, whether it's a better job following, my suggestions, or just simply a more supple, pliable body. So yeah. Even if it seems like we're, maybe not like doing much, I do feel changes in him up here as we go forward. So super. That's interesting.
All right, yeah. Great job, Aaron.
Thanks.
All right, thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a like, and if you haven't already, subscribe to this channel. We'll see you on the next one.